Hello and welcome. This is DNA Sports Talk. We're live at the Celebration Bowl with a great matchup between FAMU and Howard. With me right now is the athletic director for Howard, Mr. Davis. How you feeling?
I'm good, Don. How are you?
I'm doing
Glad
great.
to be here.
What does it mean for not only you but Howard to be here this weekend?
You know, the Celebration Bowl is probably the best platform, right, in FCS or mid-major sports, period. And by that I mean, and I tell this to our friends on campus all the time, this is a 3-hour commercial for Howard University. It's a 3-hour commercial for the HBCU culture. There are people going to learn things about Howard and learn things about the HBCU culture that they didn't know before, just because of the opportunity that we have to tell that story on ABC. And so for me, this is critically important. I juxtapose this with when our men's team won the basketball championship last year and competed in the NCAA tournament. And our first round game was against Kansas. And we played them in Des Moines, Iowa. And so I got to the arena early, I'm all excited, right? And I see some Kansas fans. Right, so I go in the stands and I start talking to them. And they're like, well, where is Howard? Well, Washington, D.C. So yeah, okay, so, and what kind of school is it? It is I'm not just a liberal art, it's a private liberal arts school. And, we have some of the most prestigious, alumni in the world.
Right.
Right, in the world. And they're like, really? Like who? And I'm like, well, what about the Vice President of the United States? She went to Howard?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
She'll be here today. That's but it's amazing, and I say all that to say, it's amazing how many people don't know our story. Don't know, and it's not even just limited to white people. There, depending on where you are, there are people who don't know our story of color, right? Everywhere around this country. So we're hoping to continue to broaden our audience, right, with opportunities like the Celebration Bowl, which also gives you opportunities to tell the story of Black excellence, right, which are HBCUs and Howard as well.
So it's safe to say that you are a bigger proponent of the Celebration Bowl than an FCS playoff.
Not even close. Not even close. And again,
no disrespect to the playoffs.
No disrespect to the playoffs.
Right.
And making any national stage is important. Right, it's important for the school to be able to hang a banner and say I'm champion, right, and to be able to say I'm the champion of all schools of this level of sport. That's always important. But for me, and for our institution, right, it's no secret. I'm going to backtrack for a second. There's no secret. A few years ago, when A&T and Hampton were approached to go to the CAA, we were approached as well, and there were a number of reasons why we decided to stay with the MEAC and stay as part of the HBCU brand culture. And part of it was, the first one was, we thought it was important for our culture, right? We thought it was, that it was an important part. If we're going to be who we say we are, it would be an important part to be.
As they say now, they stand on business.
Exactly. To be who we say we are, then it's important to be in that culture. But the second bullet point to me when I was making the argument was the Celebration Bowl. Because I thought this was an opportunity, right? We have a unique opportunity to put our students on a stage in an NFL stadium on ABC, right, in the middle of bowl season. With basically the whole world watching. What better opportunity? And no disrespect to the FCS, but going to play, Richmond or Montana or
North
Dakota State or South Dakota in their home, in their building, right? On another network is not as appealing, and those are difficult games. Let's face it.
The weather alone, right?
The weather alone. I mean, so it's. I love the idea of the Celebration Bowl. I love the idea it captures our culture. It's not just, again, if you go play Montana in Montana, there's not going to be a whole lot of focus on the bands. or in the cheerleaders, or in the dancers, or on the music, right? All of those things are part of an HBCU football game. I don't want to lose that. I want to be the champion of that, right? So that's I want to showcase that. So that to me is the importance and the significance of the Celebration Bowl for me over the FCS.
Being the AD, what have been some of the challenges that you had to face being an athletic director as times have changed?
That's a great question. The landscape for college athletics has taken a drastic shift. Unrelated to HBCU versus mid-major versus Power 5. The transfer portal, right, is something that we all have to maneuver. Now, we all have different different consequences of the transfer portal, right? But we all have to change our vision, if you will, and change our modus operandi, working within those, within the transfer portal. NIL. Again, when you meet with recruits and they say, well, how much you going to pay me? How much, that's, it changes the whole recruiting process. By maintaining and retaining our students. We used to feel comfortable in saying that when someone chose to go to Howard, and that we had a very strong possibility of playing with them, developing them, graduating them, and then having that person come back and give back to the university. That was sort of that was sort of the journey that we recruited to. Well, now that's completely different. Now it's some people would say, okay, well, I'll come to Howard for 1 or 2 years and use that as a jumping off point to get me to the Power 5 and to get paid. I know you guys can't pay me like I want, but this Big Ten school will. Right? So if I do really well my first 2 years there, I'll get, and we're still struggling with how we deal with it. And because in some sports we may say, hey, you know what, we may have to take it. We may have to live by that kind of, by those kinds of metrics, as opposed to, saying, well, we reject that and we're still going to go for the kids we always used to go for, because, even those kids, right? We off our basketball team. I'll just give a great example. Last year, our basketball team, who I thought was an excellent team, we went to. We gave Kansas all they could handle in that first half.
I think the whole country after halftime was like, all right, let's see if they can pull this off. They got to pull this off, right?
Yeah, we were a very talented team. We had no one from that team graduate. Every person on that team had eligibility left. I shouldn't say graduate. Every person on that team had eligibility left. All right, so we thought. I remember being in the locker room after the game and the tears or whatever, but then afterwards everyone said, hey, we're going to come back, right? We know we can play on this stage now, right? We'll be a year better, a year stronger, and maybe add one piece and we're good, right? And then a couple of weeks later, we lose 3 of our starters to the transfer portal, right? And NIL, and 2 of them had graduated. So what COVID did was it allowed, students to graduate, right? In those 4 years, but still have another year of eligibility, right? And so it was difficult for us to say, oh man, and now you're in May, losing 3 studs off your basketball team. Now you have to refigure. So I can't replace them with freshmen. Right. First of all, I haven't even identified as May. What freshmen are still out there who I'm going to get here in 2 months? Right. So how do you do that? So now we have to dig back into the transfer portal to replace the kids who transfer. Right. So you say, well, we don't want to necessarily be a transfer school, but the circumstances almost make you have to be. Right, so it's the landscape is really changing the dynamics of a lot of our programs, and we're still. I'll be first to say, Don, we're still looking at that. We're still evaluating who we want to be now in the present landscape.
When you brought up the transfer portal, you made me think about something. how do you do the balance? Is it a situational thing of bringing in players from the transfer portal? Because that's affecting the high school students who are, it's hard for them to get on a roster, because why do I want to take somebody who's a freshman when I can go in the portal and get somebody with 2 years experience?
It's a great point. I don't know that, I sit on the NCAA Basketball Oversight Committee, and the committee is not a huge proponent of what's happening with the transfer portal. But that being said, you said it exactly right. One of the unintended consequences was the effect on high school players, right? Because now, mid-majors who used to be opportunities for players who may get overlooked.
Right.
The five-star player is going to get his chance,
right.
But it's the 3 and the 2-star player, right, who a team could say, I brought in this 3-star kid or this 2-star kid, and I developed him, and now look how great he is, right? Those players, right, will get overlooked because the coach says that, and I'm not even saying our coach, I'm just saying coaches in general.
Right.
The coach says, well, wait a minute, if I bring him in and he overperforms, I'm going to lose him anyway. Right. So that's number one. Or number two is I can get a better kid, right? I can get a kid who's had 2 years of college experience, who's had 2 years of weight training, who's had 2 years of nutrition, right? Who, I can get him in to come help my program right away, as opposed to developing that freshman who may leave me anyway, right? So but I go back to say is that it really changes your outlook. We have, on my basketball team right now, we have 7 grad transfers. Because we're not a great transfer school inside the transfer 4 years. So because Howard doesn't take a lot of a lot of the grades, if you will, from other institutions. They don't take a lot of those credits, right? So someone who may have 60 credits at their institution, right, when they come to Howard, they may only have 30, right? And it's just based on how those credits fit inside one of the Howard majors, right? So the problem is we don't do well with 3rd and 4th year transfers. We could probably take a transfer after that 1st year, but once you get past that 2nd year, it gets really hard for us, right? So we're already at a disadvantage in the transfer portal that we can't take sophomores and juniors. But so now that's leaving us with basically taking graduate transfers. Students who have, because they have a year extra of COVID, based on COVID, et cetera, we're taking those kids, but that's not sustainable because those COVID extra years are going to run out. So we have to realize this, to think about how we're going to, and this primarily affects our men's sports more than it does our women's sports, quite frankly. Our women's sports are still, a lot of the women who choose Howard are choosing specifically because of the Howard degree, right? And
or lineage,
or whatever. That's that they want to be at Howard for whatever reason, and so we're not losing as many of them on the women's side, but on the men's side, it's a problem.
How did you get into the role of AD, and was it your first choice?
So I was in the television. I'm an attorney. And I was in the television world. I worked at HBO Sports for 17 years. I was head of programming. And it was, I was looking for something new and different. HBO was starting to move away from sports programming. They were moving away from boxing, which was one of their flagship programming areas. And so I got a call from a friend of mine who was head of Howard Hospital, and at the time, and he said to me, Howard's looking for a new athletic director, and he asked me about some names who I knew from the sports world, right? And I said, wow, those are some out of the box choices, right? That's because none of the people they asked me about were administrators. They were all sports executives of different levels. And I said, yeah. So as I was talking to him, I said, that's really some clever thinking outside of the box, right? And so he said, well, is this something you'd be interested in? And I said, I've never even thought about, my whole idea was, after leaving HBO was where's my next television gig?
Right.
And he said, okay, I'm gonna get back to you. And maybe like a couple of days, a week later, I got a call from Vernon Jordan. And he was, my first job in college was working for Vernon when he was executive director of the National Urban League. So he was a mentor of sorts, but he was also someone I just had an incredible amount of respect for. Right? He wore his Howard blue on his sleeve all the time. I had to hear about Howard this, Howard that. So and he has this real deep voice. Kery, I hear you're interested in becoming the Howard AD. And I hadn't even said it. So, but when he starts like that, he's like, yes, sir. I guess I am. Right. He said, yeah, but you're going to go down. You're going to meet with Dr. Freddie. He's my guy. He's a wonderful guy, really smart man. Only person, one of those people who I know is smarter than you. Right? So he didn't say the only person. He said one of those people I know who's smarter than you. Right? And you guys make a great team. Right? And that's how when Mr. Jordan says, go meet President Frederick. That's where I went and met President Frederick. And the thing also for him was the vision he outlined. Because to me, I really wasn't looking to, just become an AD. I wanted to do something impactful. Right, and so he said, hey, here's my vision. My vision is, why can't we be like Notre Dame or Georgetown or Duke, right? Those high academic schools, right, who also excel in athletics. And when he said that, I said, but now if that's your goal, it's a tough goal, right, but if that's your goal, I'm with you. And we went to Notre Dame on a visit amongst my first weeks there, and met with the Notre Dame president. And the Notre Dame president, we asked a question to him as to what did he not expect once he took the job at Notre Dame? What was something that was unexpected? And he said, well, when I took the job, I thought that our constituency was Notre Dame alumni. I thought that's who I'm basically selling to, Notre Dame alumni. That's who my audience is. Right. But what I realized is my constituency is every Catholic in the world. Okay. Right, we can do that. We can. Howard has a unique ability, right, in terms of the strength of his brand, especially amongst the Black community. But the strength of his brand, our constituency can go beyond Howard alone. It can go beyond Black people. It can go basically to every woke, progressive person on the planet. Right? We can make that part of our constituency. And quite frankly, that's been my agenda since day one. How to grow our brand to make it a global brand and make the constituency for it, right, the entire world. And so when we approached, or Jordan Brown approached us, we approached them, however it happened, that was when they said, what do you want to do? That's what we said. And they've been an incredible partner, and that's the whole purpose of our agreement. How do we amplify the brand of the university and also HBCUs? How do we elevate those two brands to such that they're global, that they're that their stories are known worldwide, and that's our agenda. So
that's a great segue, because we just spoke to Coach Askew and Lynch. You're the only HBCU that has a swimming team. But they also talked about how to grow. They don't want to be the only one that has a swimming team in the HBCU. Can you speak to that?
And we love being involved in sports where minorities are underrepresented. That's attractive to us. That's what golf was so attractive to us. I mean, there are obviously a number of other golf teams, right? But that was one of the things Steph Curry wanted to happen. He wanted to, felt like he wanted to make noise, if you will. Like he wanted to create a brand, if you will, inside golf, right? That was uniquely HBCU, that was uniquely Howard, right? That could compete on a national level, right? And help bring other minorities into golf, period. So you don't have to end up going to Howard, right? You can go to A&T or Central or whatever it is, right? So that was the whole idea behind that. Swimming is even more unique than that because swimming confronts a stigma. There's a stigma that black people can't swim. We can't swim. Yeah. Like, so to have a swimming team and have it featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and have our swimming team look like our community. That's one of the things I love about Coach Askew, right? Because he could take the easier way out. He could say, hey, you know what? I can go out and find some swimmers who couldn't make it at Kentucky and Georgia and whatever,
right?
But who who are white or European or whatever, right? And I can compete that way and say we have a swim team, but they all look like any other team. Right. No, our swim team is an HBCU team. They reflect our culture. They're from our areas and they're from our communities. Right? And that's why I love what he's doing. So we're fighting, he's not just fighting to have a competitive swim team. He's fighting a stigma that black people can't swim or can't swim fast. I don't know if he told you the story about, if you remember, there was a fight on the docks where this black security guard got into a fight with these.
Right.
Did he tell you that story?
Down in Montgomery. No.
Okay. So where was it at? Do you remember?
In Montgomery.
Montgomery. Yeah. So and one of the young men who was on one of the other ships jumped off the ship and started swimming to the fight.
Did. You're right.
And they called him Aquaman, right?
Right.
That was his nickname on social media, right? And we got all of these calls and said, Howard should give Aquaman a swimming scholarship.
Hey, that would have been perfect right there. You can't ask for better marketing than that, right?
But that's great though, because that tells you that people are now associating our program and black swimming together. Now this kid wasn't swimming very fast.
Right, but
he wasn't actually a technical. He swims like I swim.
It's okay. We're just treading water, right?
Exactly. But the idea was the same, that we had gotten so much now into the culture, right, that people associated our program with black swimming, and that's where we want to grow.
Okay. Last question before we let you get out of here, because I got other places to go and everything. What's been the most rewarding thing being the athletic director at Howard?
It's really real simple for me. One of the things that Vernon Jordan said to me in that conversation was, Kery, you've had an opportunity, for many years to feed your family, and you should come to Howard and seek the opportunity to feed your soul. And that's what this has been for me. To realize that you've had an opportunity to impact some young people's lives, right? Help them get to where they want to on their journey. That's the most fun part for me. When somebody comes in and says, hey, Mr. Davis, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, can you write me a recommendation? Can you, right, that's, I want to work on Wall Street, I want to do it, I want to be a teacher, right? Those are the things that I love about this institution. I love about the people I work with. And I say to my wife all the time, I will never be around a greater collection of black excellence at any point. I've never been around it before, and I'll never be around it again. Right? So this is my chance to make an impact on that excellence.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.